Good evening and welcome to CIC. Well, we have today a very interesting talk. Vidya ji has been part of the CIC for very long. She has helped us as an organizer, she has helped us as a moderator, and we thought that we have never had her on stage. So today we have Vidya ji talking. She's a multifaceted personality. She was born in the princely state of Vijayanagaram. And to tell you, she is a princess from Vijayanagaram. Her passion is trekking, and she has trekked across Ladakh, Bhutan, Uttarakhand, Nepal, Peru, Malaysia, and she has conquered trails like the Everest Base Camp, Stok Kangri, and Harmukh Glacier. She has submitted Mentok Kangri in Ladakh and Yunam Peak in Lahore, both over 6,000 feet. She is a lifelong fitness and sports enthusiast. She has captained the Madras University women's tennis team from 1970 to 73 and still trains actively in jogging, weightlifting, tennis, swimming, and yoga. I won't reveal the secret, but I just mentioned some dates. She was in college in 1970 to 73. So you can guess. And at this age, the enthusiasm she has for sports, for fitness, for trekking and mountaineering, I think we need to take lessons from her. She is a national level master swimmer and she has won multiple medals. She has also been IWA president, a fitness columnist, and a brand ambassador for Apollo Hospitals. Beyond this, she is a travel blogger and wedding planner, embracing every adventure life offers. So, without further ado, let me invite Vidya ji to the
Thank you.
stage.
Thank
The stage is all yours.
Thank you all for being here, and I have to thank both Chandramauli and Shabri for having invited me and helped me to put this together for all of you. I hope you enjoy the presentation. And the first slide I put was actually if I tell someone I went to 19,340 feet, they have no idea what that means. So I added Kodaikanal and Ooty as a perspective to what that means. So you can see where Kodaikanal and Ooty are, and Yunam is one of the trekkable summits. These are all trekkable summits, unlike Everest summit or Amadablam or one of the other summits, which are technical. These you need, like our little girl Kamya Kartikeyan, you need proper technical gear and be roped up, and you need all kinds of pickaxes and things. Here it's a trekkable summit. Although as you can see, the altitudes are pretty high. You've got 20,000, 19,000, 17,000, which is a fairly high summits there. So I think go ahead, next one, Shabri. So this was my first trek to Stoke Kangri with two boys, Badri Vijayaraghavan and T.M. Krishna. And Badri just casually met me at the poolside. I had never trekked anywhere in my life, and he said, "Hey, Vids, you want to come for a trek with me?" And without hesitation, I said yes. So I went off with these two boys to Ladakh, and we wandered all over Zanskar Valley, Markha Valley, all over trekking here, there, and finally reached the base camp of Stoke Kangri, which is at a base camp itself is at about 17,000 feet. And I think there were lots of passes we had to go through, and I was a little afraid to go higher than the glacier. The glacier was at 17,700 feet, and I thought I may not be able to make it. I wish I had gone, because that year there was no snow on the Stoke except at the summit. So, but I did not go, and I had a personal guide. So every trek that I've been on, 18 treks, even in Machu Picchu, I took a personal guide who carries my backpack and everything. Bhaiya pani de do, bhaiya chikki nikalo, like this. Bhaiya us taraf dekho, humko rock ke piche jana hai. We do that also. So that next, Shabri. So as you can see, we kept meeting up at points. They went ahead. They were very good trekkers, and they went ahead quite fast. Next. And this is both of them on the summit. Of course, there's a signal there with I think the one of the boys had a phone. So TM calls his wife and says, "Oh, I'm on the summit of Stoke Kangri." She says, "It's 5 a.m." and she banged the phone down. And then Badri calls his mother, "Amma, I'm on the summit. Where's Vidya?" So she was not bothered, and poor fellow, and she thought that he'd abandoned me on the side of the mountain somewhere. But I did go back to the glacier, to the campsite, and waited for them. Next. And you can see what beautiful visuals in Ladakh, monasteries and mountains. It's something awesome. Next. And the next trek I went on was in 2015 with the people I trek with now. Get Up and Go, Arjun Kripal Singh, who's a cricketer also. He owns the company and he takes us. Every trek I've been on has been with their company. And this is a bunch of girls I started trekking with. Rupin Pass is awesomely beautiful. And we started in Uttarakhand and came out in Himachal. So it's through the mountains across that. Next. And as you can see, we just have lots of fun times while we are trekking. Next. And the campsites, we had a campsite here on top over here, and it's a beautiful meadow. And at night, I came out to go to the toilet, and I looked up, and the sky was filled with stars. It was something unbelievable. And you look this side, the full moon was on the river. There's a river going through the meadow. So I actually woke up everyone in the campsite and said, "Everyone, come out, and you cannot miss this sight." So that was really beautiful. Next. And as you can see, that's the pass we climbed. You can see the top of the center over here, over there. So that it's a pretty tough climb because it's all was snow and ice all the way, almost all the way to the top. But we all made it, and you go over the pass, and again, you're coming through snow. So we were taught how to walk downwards through snow, dig your heels into the snow, not toes down, but heels down, heels down, heels down, so your foot doesn't slip. Beautiful, beautiful trek. Next. And this is all of us at the pass. We all one by one reached up there and finally took our top of the pass photograph. Next. And this is on my way down. Somebody took this photograph of me. I wanted to rest my back, and I leaned over a rock with my backpack behind me, and I actually almost fell asleep here. It was so comfortable. So it was quite an amusing picture. Next. And I went to trek in eastern Malaysia with my two children. They're not small children, they're grown ups, 40s. And it was very, very interesting trek because it's not a very high mountain, maybe about 15,000 or something was the summit, but it's a 1 day climb up, next morning to the summit, and all the way down. It was pretty tough. Thank you. Next. And this is the summit point. You can see the rope there. They put a rope through the center of the mountain, and they tell you when you go up that if the cloud cover, there's a lot of low slung clouds that come, stay close to the rope because you can fall off the mountain. It's a narrow mountain there. Next. And that's us. This is the first time I did rappelling, where you actually pull yourself up with ropes to go up there, and that's us heading to the summit there. Next. And we just had some fun in Malaysia, seeing the Rafflesia is the biggest flower in the world. It's 6 foot diameter, and it's on the floor. They have wooden walkways through the forest so that you don't step onto the flowers. And that's the mountain we had climbed in the distance in the center picture. Ropeways across some tropical forest jungle. Next. And this is a very, very beautiful trek. Our first trek actually in Bhutan. And it's called the Great Lakes Trek of the Great Lakes, Dagala Great Lakes. And in Bhutan, there are many, many lakes. And all the lakes are considered to be holy. Each lake is dedicated to a goddess. And when we are trekking near the lake, they tell us, please don't talk loudly, don't say any negative things, don't use bad words, because apparently the goddess gets angry and she'll bring a mist down and you won't be able to see the thing. I mean, it's a beautiful little belief. Next. And you can see the lakes. We were pretty interesting to go from one lake to the other. Extraordinarily beautiful Bhutan. Next. And you can see the valleys with the flowers, rhododendrons and other flowers. It's just picturesque and beautiful. Next. And again, here we had campsites where everyone has fun after the trek, doing yoga and all sorts of things. Little tough walkways there. You can see the edge of the mountain. Next. And this is again that's what they call Tiger's Nest. That's our training trek. We go up to Tiger. It's a monastery, and we come down. It's unbelievable. And oftentimes what's beautiful is the mist is covering it. And after a couple of minutes, suddenly the mist clears and you see the uh, monastery there. And when we reached there, actually, the monks were just started some prayers and they were chanting. It was we just sat there for about an hour listening to them. Next. And I went back to Stoke Kangri again in 2017 with Arjun Kripal Singh's group, and that you can see the path going up. That's the path. That down there is the campsite, the base camp, and paths going up over there. And it was a very tough climb, very cold, and we all went up to the glacier. And I actually, the thing is, you have to accept when you cannot do something, just accept it. So I reached up to the glacier. The rest of the group stayed behind. Two boys and me started climbing. I was actually ahead of them. So we reached something called the Col, where there are two gigantic rocks. And I could see the next group that had gone ahead. I could see their lights. So the summit was not that far away, but it was another 3 hour climb. And things happened. My shoe became loose. My crampons became loose. And when I sat down to tie them, put them together, I got severe body cramps. I think not from not drinking enough water. So I actually gave up and said, sorry, I can't do anymore. Next slide, please. I'm going back down. So I went down, but my guide porter was very angry with me. He didn't talk to me again after that because he wanted to summit and he had never summited before. Next. So this is also part of the Stoke Kangri. Next. So this is us at a sort of a pass that we had gone till. This is how our tents look. The bigger tent is the dining tent where we can sit. And so it's very makeshift, but somehow we are used to roughing it out a little bit. Next. And as you can see, we start very early in the morning to climb, sometimes 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Next. And this is the glacier. We have to cross the glacier and go up to the top there. Next. And again, as you can see, those are the two boys that summited. Arun Surendra and VST Motors from Bangalore. He's from there. And the other boy is Bala. And that's the mountain, Stoke Kangri. Next. And of course, this I think probably was one of the most beautiful treks we've done in Nepal. Annapurna, it's called the Annapurna Circuit. And every single day, any direction you look, it's awesomely beautiful. Next. And you can see the mountains. These are prayer wheels. Every village you pass has rows of prayer wheels. Next. And the side of the path goes through, this is a landslide. And they put a sign there saying, tread gently, landslide area. Yeah, right. Because if you slide down, you're going down to the bottom of that mountain pretty hard. But we sort of treaded carefully and crossed it. Next. So again, you can see there are snowy areas. There are the high pass. High camp is at a very cold place. So we go through both beautiful forests and things and places which are covered with snow. Next. And this was high camp, that campsite there. Again, you can see the areas where very rough terrain. And it was so cold at high camp, we could not undress and change into night clothes. We just slept in our trekking clothes. Next morning, put on our shoes and just went. Next. So as you can see, we're crossing glaciers. Next. And this is the pass that we come to, Torungla Pass. And Torungla Pass is at a height of about 16,000. And we also did Tilicho Lake, which was before the high camp. We went up to, which is the highest freshwater lake in the world. And it was frozen, completely frozen. I had a big fall there because my foot slipped and I crashed down onto the ground. But this pass was interesting. After this, we come down to the temple. Muktinath temple is at the bottom of the climb. We end the climb at Muktinath. Next. And this is the Everest Base Camp trek that we went on. Little planes like that take you up to a little town called Lukla, which is the most frightening airport in the world, I think. So it's a little runway which is very short and it's at an angle. Below this is the edge of the mountain. So if the pilot doesn't land at the right place, he'll crash down. It's a very short, and there's a mountain at here. He has to reach the top and turn sharp right. And when he takes off, he has to rev up the engine here, go at high speed and take off before he reaches the edge. So they consider it one of the most scary mountains in the world, but we are there. Thank you. Next. So these are beautiful mountains, Amadablam and things that we pass. It's a long, long, long trek because it takes almost 14, 15 days to go and come back. Next. And we pass ropeways. It's just incredibly beautiful. Next. And as you can see, we're all, having fun on the way. Photographs, of course, most important. Next. And you can see the various, not yet at the camp. Next. At base camp. So this is like a last campsite we stay at. It's actually in Nepal. It's not tents. It's all tea houses like this. So it's not too bad. You don't have to sleep in a tent. And when India treks anywhere in India, it's tented sites with the toilet is a hole in the ground. If you're lucky, you'll get a seat above it, and a tent. You pull the zip down, and they give you they give you a pile of mud with a spade so you can cover up after you're done. That's India, but in Nepal, it's like this. Next. So again, this is all part of the Nepal trek, Everest Base Camp trek. Next. We had, okay, this we go to now, Machu Picchu in Peru. And there's nothing to compare. No mountains in the world can compare with our Himalayas across the entire range. No Alps, no Andes, nothing compares. It is beautiful, no doubt, but you compare them to our mountains and they fade very, very pathetically fade. But it was a beautiful trek, and my daughter has a little trekking company and she takes people to South America. So we did do the Machu Picchu trek. Next. And you can see us there, almost reaching Machu Picchu. Next. So that down there is the Mount Machu Picchu. And, we went there and we were thinking this is 1565 when they built the Machu Picchu temple. And in India, 1,000 years before that, we had the most incredibly beautiful architectural marvels built here. This is just stones cut in like big square rocks and piled one on top of the other. The top of the temple was some wooden thing which obviously went off, and that's all there is. But the way they market themselves, they get more visitors than we get here. Next. So this is the Rainbow Mountain. It's called the Rainbow Mountain. You're not allowed to go onto it, but you can go there and see it. Next. And again, this is part of during the trek to Machu Picchu. Next. And this is again incredibly beautiful. Our first trek in Kashmir, and this was 2021. And meadows, I mean, truly Jannat hai, Kashmir. It is just beyond beautiful. Every day you get astounded by the beauty, and you think, my God, even Switzerland doesn't compare to this. Next. And this is our group, and we did have some snowy bits that we had to trek over. Very beautiful, lots of boulders, rocks. Next. And most of our campsites were on the banks of lakes, and that little niche you can see there where I've climbed onto that rock, it was a little, supposed to be a little temple. And when we went past the lake, there was nothing, it was empty. But when we came back, some boys who were down there said somebody had knocked the Shivalingam into the water maybe by mistake, and these boys had found it and taken it and put it back. So we got to see that. Next. And you can see how beautiful Kashmir truly is. Next. And a lot of people, shepherds and families who live there, very friendly. All the little children, we are told to carry little chocolates and sweets to give the children there. Next. And this was an incredible trek, the Gaumuk Tapovan trek. This is the source of what you can see that on top is a giant glacier. It's a bit muddy, and below it is the mouth of the glacier from which the source of the Ganges, one of the rivers that joins together and becomes the Ganges. So it was an incredible trek, Tapovan Gaumuk. Next. And these are our tents at some of the campsites. This is how we stay. You have to kind of crawl into the tent. Next. And this is one of the places where they did have some structures that we could use for dining. Otherwise, we were in tents, very fast flowing rivers. And one night we were in the tent, my roommate and me, and I kind of stretched my foot and I found something furry. I was touching something a bit furry. So I woke her up and I'm like, Mal, there's something in our tent. And then we put the torch on, and there was a huge dog which had crept into our tent. So we were so frightened. We didn't know how to, we wanted to go to the toilet, but we were scared to open our zip. Otherwise it would creep into the warm tent we were in. So we had to call for help to chase him off. Next. And this is again pathways, beautiful mountains. Next. And again here, just, the the routes are so pretty. Next. And all of us at a point which is almost the top. Tapovan was the top meadow where we stayed, and there was a Baba there who had renounced the world, and he became Mauni Baba. But I think when he saw all of us, we were 9 girls, I think he started talking immediately. And we were so, actually, I should not make fun of him because he was so kind to us. Because that night, it started snowing, and our team that was supposed to bring our tents and set it up never showed up. So he gave us shelter in his little house that he lives in. So all the boys got, it's a big, very big group. So all the boys packed together, and 9 of us girls, he gave us his room. He had a little cubby hole on top, and we slept in his room. Next. So you can see the paths. Next. And you can see this is another trek in Nepal, Mardi Himal. Extremely beautiful in Nepal. And next. It was an April trek, so rhododendrons, it's springtime, so incredibly beautiful flowers. This is soon after the last 2 treks were soon after the pandemic. So we were happy to be out there. Next. And then, well, lovely, Nepal always has lovely places like this for us to stay. There was a hailstorm when we were having lunch. So when we came out, the entire area was covered like white little pebbles. And some of the pathways I like, that's stony pathways. Next. And this is all of us and some of our group and 1 or 2 of the porters. We had women porters. They all carry something like 30 kilos each up the mountain, and we are just, with guides and helpers, we're not even carrying anything, and we are struggling up, but they carry these huge weights. Next. And you can see the absolute beauty of the mountains with the mist. Next. And again, part of the Madhi Himal. It's snowy. The last day was full ice and packed ice and snow. Next. Very slippery. This was our last tea house that we stayed in. That boy is my guide. So for that trek. So next. And this is an incredible, we went to Yunam summit, which is in Lahaul Spiti. And we did a acclimatization trek in Solang. And this is an incredible sight because on the left, the picture, when we went, it was a waterfall which falls onto the Shivalingam, which is at the back. You can see it. And the Nandi is in front. So the whole water falls onto them. In winter, the waterfall actually freezes as it comes down and freezes over the Shivalingam and the Nandi. It's an incredible sight. Next. And here, the Yunam was our first summit. Actually, it was over 6,000, I think 110 meters. Next. And these are some very beautiful lakes we go past on the way. Some areas we're driving. Next. And these are Ladakh and Lahaul are very bare, unlike the Kashmir or Himachal, which are full of trees and meadows. Here, the mountains are absolutely bare. No greenery at all. Next. So that's how our campsite was in the middle of this bare, rocky area. Cold. Next. And this is us. That's me at the summit over there with that boy, my guide, Tejram. Even the last trek, I told the Arjun, I said, if I don't get Tejram, I'm not climbing the mountain. So he was brought again to. So that's me on the summit. It took us. We started at about midnight, and we reached up just after sunrise. Sunrise was while we were climbing. There was snow falling. There was no rain, luckily, but there was a lot of snowfall. Next. And this was sunrise on the mountain. It's incredible. The beauty of all of this is it just takes your breath away every single day, I think. And next. And this is, I went back to South America in 2023, and we did 2 or 3 treks there in Patagonia, a mountain called El Charlton. Next. And Fitzroy, Cerro Fitzroy. It's just, Patagonia is something awesomely beautiful. alongside some of the lakes, there was enormous wind across the lake, and you can actually see high waves on the lake. And twice I was actually knocked down onto the bushes. I couldn't stand upright because it was almost gale force winds. Next. And this is the entrance to our campsite. They're called refugios, and they're like huge dormitory kind of residences that we go to stay. And that was kind of welcoming us, that beautiful rainbow. Next. And this is a famous trek called the W. And next, lakes. Of course, back to India, back to Gokyo Lakes. And this again is a incredibly tough and beautiful Gokyo Lakes, because we go past three lakes which are back almost next to each other, still and calm, and you can see the mountains reflected onto the lake. And this is, of course, Edmund Hillary with his thing pointing to the Everest. And here they don't call it Everest. In Nepal, they can call it the Nepalese name Sagarmatha, and they say AKA Everest. So they don't like to refer to it as Everest, because Everest himself never went up there. George Everest or whoever, I forgot his name, something, he never reached there. He had somebody who mapped it to see the altitude. Next. And this is us. There were two summits here. One was Gokyo Ri, which we climbed up the summit and came back down. It's at a fairly high altitude, 17,600. So it's a good climb. So that was one day's climb. Next picture. And this is at Renjola Pass. So that is the pass we go over to go onto the other side of the mountain. And it was terrifying because up to here was fine. Coming onto the other side of the mountain, the whole mountain was covered with snow. And we had not planned properly, because it was so slippery. Some people actually had to sit down. We didn't have crampons. So some people had to sit down and slide down the mountain. So, but that was an amazing trek, Gokyo Lakes. Next. And as you can see, the beautiful, absolutely beautiful lakes. Next. And Kalihani Pass trek. This is of course, in India itself, and in Himachal. And Kalihani, I think, we had a mixed group. We had a couple of youngsters, 17-year-old boys who came with us. So on day one, I told those two boys, I don't want to scar you for life, so I'm going to let you go ahead of me, because I'm a fast trekker and I'm competitive when I'm on the mountain. So I said, I'm going to let you go ahead of me. So they were very traumatized. Every day I would trick them and do something. Next. Again, a lot of snow, glaciers we had to climb. As you can see, we're all wearing gaiters to cover our shoes, so that when your feet sink into the snow doesn't get into your shoes. Next. And this is my favorite photograph on the edge of the mountain. It was quite terrifying to get out there, but I kind of crawled out there and made somebody take a photograph of me. Nice. Next. Kalihani Pass. Now, this was the last two treks we've done, which was last year. Langtang Valley, again, back to Nepal, again, awesomely beautiful. And we went through different villages and towns to reach the main Langtang Valley, and there is a monastery there, very famous monastery there. And it's called Kyanjin Gumpa, and very famous, one of the most ancient monasteries of Nepal. Next. So as you can see, the tea houses, Nepal is fairly comfortable. We don't have to worry. Occasionally, we even get hot water for a bath. Otherwise, the rest, India treks, we are done with wet wipes. No baths at all till you come back. Next. So this is our last trek. As you can see, this was the sunrise on one of the days before we started the summit, to go up to the summit. It looks like an AI generated picture, but actually it's a real sunlight. We woke up in the morning, came out of our tents, and we saw this, and people just went berserk. It does not look real at all. It was awesome. And it was on the 10th, and 11th of September was my birthday, the day we climbed the summit. So it was almost as if the gods were blessing me with this sunrise. It's across the mountains. We are climbing this way, behind us, and that is another range of mountains. Enormous amount of army everywhere in all of these areas, in anywhere that you look, because we need them there. We've got aggressive neighbors on both sides. China is not that far. If you stand at our campsite and look to the right, there's a range of mountains, and China's just beyond that. So distance-wise, not that far away. And Pakistan for Kashmir is only, as the crow flies, 25 kilometers. It's nothing. Next. So these are the kind of paths we go up. There is no path. You're just climbing over rocks and boulders. Up there is a summit that we are heading to. And we had to cross a glacier, almost half a kilometer of glacier, which was at an angle like this. So we had to cross at an angle. It was a little scary. Luckily, my guide, same chap, Tejram, he came and he walked next to me here with his feet ready to block me if I slipped down. All of us took porters that time. At least all the girls did. Next picture. And this is, as usual, some nice, it's not quite the summit, but it's close to that. I think there were some on the way up and on the way down. We did have some incredible. We saw some beautiful wild animals, wild asses, and we had some. They have rodents there, giant rodents, which are in the ground. Marmots, they're called marmots, adorable, cute little creatures. So we were lucky we got to see all of those. And I think the summit here was 20,110. The Mentok Kangri summit. It's one of the a trekkable summit, and I think it was 20,110. Shabri, shall we just show that little 3-minute video? We have a very cute video of one of the boys in our group, Prashant Pabhati. He made this video for us. It's just 3 minutes, and he had a drone, and he had taken permission from an army general to take the drone because this is very restricted areas. You're actually not allowed drones. So he took this video of that whole area that we were trekking in. It was quite incredible. That's the town that we were at, Karzok. The trek started from Karzok. And this is a very beautiful lake called So Moriri. More famous lake is Pangong. It became famous and it's touristy, but this is pristine and just awesome, awesomely beautiful. So Moriri. And the color changes through the day depending on the sunshine. The sky is blue, it reflects in the water. Clear water, you can see your feet if you step into the water. Icy cold, of course. So we had a day, quite a few days before we reached Karzok because they had to take us through for acclimatization. So the town of Leh itself is about 11,000 feet above sea level. So it does give you a bit of altitude sickness. So, but the thing is that by the time it's day 5, by the time we start an acclimatization trek in this area, there are all of us trekking there. And if you're tired, you just lie down on the rocks there wherever you are. There's nowhere else to go. The summit climb was a little tough because we started at 3 a.m. They woke us up at 2 a.m., give us porridge to eat, and then you're off. Headlamps. And of the 14 people, I think 9 of us summited. 3 girls turned back within an hour. They realized they couldn't do it. And halfway, I was very disappointed. 2 men turned back. So 9 of us actually summited within an hour and a half or 2 hours of each other. It was a long 3 a.m. I reached the summit at 11 a.m. So it was a long climb. Not you're stopping, you're resting, and I have a very good system of climbing. I'll climb 15 steps, stop, and breathe. Again, 15 steps. As you go higher, 10 steps, even higher, 5 steps. You need to breathe. You need your heart rate to come down. So 5 breaths, start again. So even Yunam, I climbed, that was 6.5 kilometers from the base camp, summit base camp to the summit. 6.5 kilometers, I climbed like that. I was up there almost first. So I have to say, although I'm trying to show off over here, the 2 boys who came up with me, one is Prashant, the boy who made this video, and another boy who actually climbed the summit of Everest last year. So they were actually ahead of little behind me, and my guide Tejram says, "Acha Vidya ma'am, hum pehle upar jayenge." So I said, "Ye do bachcha hai, unko pehle jane do." So we allowed them to go ahead. When I reached the summit, both the boys came and touched my feet. It was very, very moving. You can see the There are beautiful monasteries here also in Karzok. It's a little town. You can see the lake down there. It's actually quite beautiful. So I think what happens for us is the treks have so much to offer: brilliant sunshine, beautiful moonshine also, which we see so often, and of course the valleys and mountains. And there's so much of beauty of nature all around us, it actually overwhelms you. Mountains and rivers, there's snow, there's ice, there's glaciers, beautiful meadows, rain sometimes, and sun, and of course snow. So we have experienced all of this through these treks, and I think we've come up to the challenge. We're able to do it. We realize we're able to do it. And there's a fundamental question that comes into everyone's mind. What is it that drives us to go out to these remote areas, trying to experience all of this? There are challenges every single day, and getting out of our comfort zones, going up there. And a lot of areas are very remote. There are dangers when we are trekking on the mountains because the paths are sometimes very narrow. There is danger there. And I think sometimes you just feel the mountains are, they seep into your soul. And I think that's what brings us back. The minute we are halfway through one trek and we're already planning the next one. We're leaving for uh, uh, Kilimanjaro on the 5th, and we're already thinking, what shall we do in September? So it's not yet done. And we realize actually while you're trekking in these mountains how insignificant we are in the larger scheme of nature. And I think the magnificence of these mountains makes you realize there is a higher power that's has created all this, has made it. Really brings you that thought in your mind all the time. And then another thing is that you never ever talk of conquering a mountain. I'm not even Everest summit, not none of those. It's you climb with the most enormous respect for the mountains, and you look at it as the gods of the mountain and nature conspires to give you a perfect window to climb. So I think that is the way to look at when you climb mountains. It's incredible. Like when we did the Mentok Kangri climb, we reached the summit base camp, and that night there was a windstorm, and we thought the tents were going to blow away. And it calmed down after that. Next morning, we woke up, clear skies, stars in the sky. It was just beautiful. So we had a perfect climbing day. No breeze, no clouds, nothing, just perfect. Came back to the campsite. We slept to go back the next day. We started climbing down. And next morning, we woke up. There was what they call a whiteout. The mountains behind us that we had climbed, we could not see them. It was covered with snowy clouds, which were snow falling there, and no sunrise, nothing. So it was just that lucky window we had that one day. Of course, the guides keep a buffer day because this could have happened the previous day. So we do have a buffer day. So every time our buffer day was spent in Leh, fortunately. So we had some fun there. And I think another thing that comes to our minds here is that we have enormous respect for the people who live in the mountains because it's so hard just surviving there. For us, we go there, we do the trek, it's hard, it's easy, whatever, and we leave. But these people are actually living their lives there. So we end up with enormous respect for those people. And the challenges, of course, they're every day. There are challenges while walking, climbing. People fall. Some people have dangerous falls. So all of that does happen. Luckily, we haven't had avalanches. But the boy who came with me when I went with Badri and TM Krishna, I had a little guide, Tara Bhaiya. He was only 22 years old. And 2 years he came with me, and, he literally looked after me every single day, even tying my shoelaces. 2 years later, he was climbing with some Swiss climbers. They were doing Everest summit, and there was an avalanche, and he too was swept away with all the other climbers as well. The whole team got swept away. Some Swiss climbers. Just 2 years later, and he must have been 24 years old, like a baby. And I think sometimes we realize as we're finishing a trek or while we're on the trek that we are the fortunate people who can actually go out and experience this. Many people may think about it, many people may want to do it, but we are the lucky ones who have the opportunity and the ability to go out there and actually do a trek like this. So I think it's an incredible feeling of a gift. Like every trek is like a gift given to us. And I think that that itself is something that we go back time and again for, that feeling that it's a gift for us to be there. So I think that that's I've sort of told you all about the treks, and I hope you like the video that Prashant had sent us. Thank you. Thanks,
Take a
Shabri.
few questions.
If anyone has any
Let
questions, I
me
think.
ask. So that was incredible, beautiful.
Thank you.
For most of us who are senior citizens here, going on a morning walk. I did 3 kilometers today and we are very happy. Would you like to share? I mean, I don't want to spill the secret, but she's a senior citizen too.
Oh, for sure. I turned 72 this year. I will turn 72 this year.
That's what
So
I didn't want to say that.
it's
So
everywhere. Nothing
72
to hide.
and she is there training every day. And
Absolutely.
how do you inspire yourself to go out there
I
and
I
train?
I am. I don't need any inspiration. I just it's an addiction to do fitness and and exercise every single day. I bicycle. I do. I actually I think I'm fitter at 70 than I was when I was 30, because 30 I was just jogging and playing tennis and horse riding. Now I'm doing multiple disciplines: bicycling, swimming. I was always a good swimmer. Had a pool in my parents' house, and I always tell this is just a side, a little joke. The only reason to get into Gymkhana Club pool was to see boys. We never swam at all. So, so that's the extent of swimming then. But we were always good swimmers, and I discovered masters events about 10 years ago, thanks to Gayatri Rajam, Srinath Ratnam's wife. And she kind of inspired us. And now I go every year for Masters Nationals. Last year was, year before last, Ambala, then last year, Mangalore. This year, 24 was Bhopal. So I do pan Indian Masters games as well. So I'm very motivated with all that.
How do
And
you train?
I get very angry if I don't get gold medals. Have to get golds, sometimes silvers.
How do you train in Chennai, for example? I mean,
There's plenty of space. Like tomorrow morning, we are climbing Tirusulam Hill for training for our trek. It's a little hill. I mean, you can't compare it to where we are going, but it's a good little hill to climb. It's
so,
opposite the airport. Tirusulam is actually, I think it's Trishulam, but they call it Tirusulam.
and what about any institutions that encourage
There
trekking
are a
or
lot of
train
there are a
people for
lot of
trekking
mountaineering schools for those.
in
There's a
Chennai?
young girl, not in Chennai.
No,
You'll have to
we're
go up there.
asking about Chennai. If
Yeah,
someone wants to,
you should. Arjun Kripal Singh is the best person for that. There's a young girl who's about 28 or 29 years old, Akshara Ramabhadran. Very good trekker, strong, big, strong girl. And she's at the right age. She's already summited two or three. I think she's aiming for Everest. But the problem with climbing Everest, not that it is hard, but it needs a lot of funding. So the boy who summited from our group last year, Arjun, got him big funding. You need 30, 40 lakhs to summit Everest. So it's very big money. So, and Kuti, the boy who summited, he is a story because he was the son of a fisherman who, Arun has that surf turf. And so brought this boy up from the fisherman's, as a fisherman's son, made him into a surfer, made him, and Arjun took him in for trekking and started training him for treks, and he got him all the funding. There are many companies that will fund people who are, it's a story, a fisherman's son who's summited. So he's, I think, the third person from Tamil Nadu who's actually some. Muttamil Selvi is one
Muttamil
girl.
Selvi is one.
Muttamil Selvi, she's an amazing trekker, so she's summited also.
Right.
She's a Chennai, Madras based person.
So, what challenges have you faced personally when you have to take
I think,
mountains?
fortunately for me, a lot of people in the group do get altitude sickness, but I have been so far lucky. Everest base camp is actually not that high, it's 17,000, but I did get mild altitude sickness there. But fortunately, the two summits I've done, Yunam and this one, the last one we did, I did not get any altitude sickness. Others, lots of people need, two or three needed oxygen, who are much, much younger than me. And a lot of people were throwing up, and they're pretty strict. The minute you get, say, you got a headache or you start throwing up, they send you down because you have to descend very quickly. Otherwise, it can be life threatening. When we were doing Stoke Kangri, one boy, one of our Madras people actually, he came up to the base camp and he was giddy, vomiting. And so actually they put one guide with him and sent him down to the town at the bottom, because the minute you descend you recover. And we had to wait one extra day at the base camp for that guide to come back, because otherwise you do need, we have one guide and one or two guides up front who lead the group, definitely one who brings up the rear, so no one is left on the mountain unattended, and we have one or two guides in the middle, so there's enough of a team going. Plus we all have our personal porters, some of us girls. One girl is a photographer, so she carries huge cameras, so the porter carries the cameras for her. Sheila Verghese. So she's a very good trekker also. So I think it's great camaraderie, great friendship, great bonding. And I think we're always looking out for each other. It's not like you just walk off and don't bother about other people. One guy had nosebleeds, so a lot of the people had to stop and help him. This trek that I'm going next week to Kilimanjaro, we have two people coming from Australia who are going to join us there at Addis Ababa for us to go. So, kind of, sorry, it's an 8 day trek. 8 days, and from start to finish. But apparently, it's a little tough, the summit climb day, because it's an extinct volcano, and the top of the mountain is covered with old volcanic ash. So your feet kind of sink in, and it's kind of slippery. You'd climb 2 steps and slip back. So it is apparently a little tough. So it's a different mountain that we're going. It's the highest and only freestanding mountain in the world, although it doesn't compare with Everest. All other mountains are part of a range. Kilimanjaro is the only freestanding mountain. It stands by itself on a plain. So, looking.
Floor is open.
Tell me,
What's the height of
Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro?
It's just below 20,000. So, it's not quite 20,000. 19,700 is Kilimanjaro.
So you start from sea level and go?
Not sea level, but we fly in to one place and start at a gate which enters the park up to there, and from there onwards it's slow, gradual up to the summit climb day. That last camp, that's the only day we're doing a serious summit. So it's a little.
When people get altitude sickness, they're able to come back again?
You see, we take a medicine called Diamox, which we start before we leave Madras. So your body is already, it apparently helps your body to absorb more oxygen, your blood to absorb more oxygen. And it's an absolute must. Like Arjun will not take anyone if they don't take Diamox. We take half in the morning, half at night, every single day. But the minute you start to descend, we don't need to take it. Like in the town of Leh, most people come off the air. They have oxygen cylinders at the airport of Leh because that's at 11,000. So you're flying from Delhi, which is sea level, straight to 11,000. And the town of Leh is 11,500. So they're very strict with us. We're not allowed to go into our rooms after we check into the hotel. We have to sit in the garden or on the terrace and all day, and then we take a walk into the town. It's all a part of the acclimatization. So they're pretty strict with us, because the minute you go into your room and lie down, your blood circulation slows down and there's not enough oxygen absorbed. So they're pretty strict with us on those things. And it takes, I think, only on day 5 we start actually climbing. By then we're fully acclimatized. We go up to Kardungla Pass by car and come by vehicles and come down. That itself is about 18,000. 18 or 19,000 is the Kardungla Pass. It's the highest motorable road in the world, Kardungla. And there are monasteries. So we do a lot of wandering about before we actually start the climb. It's quite technical the way they do it.
Hi. So I'm an army man.
Yes.
I spent 2 years in Ladakh.
Oh,
I fought the Kargil war. So I
yes.
fought at 18,000 feet, 19,000
Wow.
feet. But hearing you was inspirational today.
Thank you, Jay.
And more so because I actually want to ask you, what is the secret of your fitness? Is it the secret diet?
Continuous
Or your
fitness.
secret drink?
Continuous
that keeps you
fitness.
fit?
Continuous
But
fitness.
what diet do you have?
Very simple food.
That is?
Very, very simple. Lots of fruit, lot of vegetables, nuts, seeds, protein powders, very simple. But I have to say that when we're, especially Ladakh, when we are and Kashmir, so you feel so reassured, because there are army camps everywhere. Even in Kashmir, in fact, we have to keep showing our passes, because there are infiltrators who come in and mix into the trek groups. And a very cute thing happened. My Malvika Mehra. So she has some song, one of these army songs, and minute we went to give our passes, she started singing this song, something something, in one marching type song. So that army guy listened to the whole song and he said, "That's not for my battalion. That's another battalion song." It was very cute, but he let us sing the whole song. And even when we're camping in Kashmir, army people are constantly coming through our campsite just to check. And we, of course, our campsite is full luxury, so we call them for tea and give them tea. The seniors will come and sit, but the juniors will be standing at attention outside the camp. So they're quite open to that. But it's a reassuring sight. And in Ladakh also, they have Sukhois all the time doing sorties. You really feel reassured. Army camps everywhere, incredible army camps everywhere. So all over you see them. Very, very reassuring for us to have that. Sorry, you were saying something, sir?
have actually,
Yes.
I have actually two observations.
Ji.
One is you are very brave and bold to take it up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does your family react to it?
My daughter told me the other day, "Mom, you better climb all those mountains. You're running out of time." So, so I'm like, "You devil, I'm not that old." But they're both into adventure too, both my kids. So my son also is full of, they both ski and they do other things.
The second observation I had heard from one of senior army officer
Ji.
that both Arunachal Pradesh and Ladakh are at the same altitude,
Could be because it's the same range of mountains at the end.
11,000 feet
Yes,
plus.
yes.
Arunachal Pradesh is full of vegetation, full of trees and
Beautiful trekking trails there.
at that altitude.
Yes.
Ladakh at 11,000 feet has no vegetation.
Bare, it's bare mountains, bare, beautiful brown bare mountains, craggy rocks, and it's quite a blue sky above the craggy mountains there and lakes. It's
So,
quite beautiful.
scientifically, they are trying to analyze why there
Why?
is vegetation in one
Yeah.
place and there is no vegetation in the other
That's
place.
absolutely right. So we went one trek from Himachal through the Atal tunnel, which is about 8 kilometers long through the mountain. So you're in Himachal, it's full of trees and beautiful pine trees like a forest. You come out through the Atal tunnel onto the other side, and it's bare mountains. 8 kilometers through the mountain, on the other side of the mountain, there's not a blade of grass.
So,
It's incredible.
one of the hypotheses that they have is that the composition of atmospheric air, the amount of oxygen in Ladakh area,
Yeah.
is probably substantially less than in the other Himalayan
Absolutely.
places.
Also, I think it's very rocky. That whole area is full of rocks. Even the mountains are just plain rock. There's no mud. There's nowhere for trees to grow. It's an extraordinary difference when you see from Himachal to Lahaul Spiti or Ladakh.
So they believe, as a hypothesis, very probable,
Ji.
that Ladakh air itself has very little amount. If normal air has to have 23% oxygen or whatever, probably Ladakh has much less than that.
Absolutely. That's why the air is so rarefied for us to breathe also. It's absolutely right observation.
Do you feel that difference when you go to a
when,
vegetated
when
place and
no, not like that, but you do feel the rarefied atmosphere here when you're climbing at higher altitudes. And as you go up the mountain, the vegetation changes. Lower slopes you have high trees, pine trees, beautiful, and as you go higher, the trees become shorter, scrub, shorter bushes and scrub, and the high trees, I mean the tall trees are gone by the time you reach over 10,000. There are no more tall trees. Yes, the tree line is there. It ends there. It's nice.
how do you spend your night time?
Where thing in the mountains, we are tired, so we have to sleep. But I have to say that I keep a daily journal wherever I trek, and we make a beautiful coffee table book when we come back, and all the photographs are given by everyone, and I do the daily writing. Day one, trek day one, from here to here, this altitude, this distance, time taken. So it's very detailed recording of each day. If you don't trek, like we were trekking in Ladakh once, and Badri, TM Krishna, and me, and we were walking along the edge of the mountain. And on the other side, there's a range of mountains on the other side. And there was a giant eagle above us. His wingspan must have been about 6 foot wingspan. We could see his feathers. Beautiful. Then we looked onto the mountain on the other side, and his shadow was undulating with the mountains. Now, it was an incredible, even till today, I get astounded when I think of it. And if you don't write that down, how will you remember? 12 years later, you're not going to remember these things. So we write everything we experience or see in the mountains, write. Everyone else will come to the campsite and play cards and drink tea and be having fun, joking and this and that. I sit for half an hour, 45 minutes and finish my writing every day. So that's a kind of discipline. So
Good evening, ma'am. It was wonderful listening to you and
thank you.
looking at
Thank
the
you.
photographs. I'm just a little bit confused about the two terms that are usually used. One is trekking and the other one is mountaineering.
Big difference.
Yeah. So
Mountaineering is when they climb summits like Everest, Amadablam. TM Krishna just summited Amadablam about 2 months ago. It's one of the toughest mountains, maybe more difficult than Everest even. I think he's heading to Everest this year. So that is mountaineering because you need ropes, you need crampons, you need ice picks, and you need to be. And the ropes also are with clamps. So as you climb, you clamp onto the next, clamp onto the next stage. Highly dangerous. I unfortunately, if I'd started 30 years ago, maybe I would have attempted like our little Kamya Kartikeyan. But I'm not. I don't have the ability to build that kind of strength to climb. So you have to accept what you can do. So, but trek. What we do is trekkable summits, where you do need trek poles and proper some areas crampons if there's snow and little slippery. But otherwise, they're all trekkable summits. There are many. We
so
have
it's
some.
like till the base camp of Everest.
Yes.
You have to trek, and further up, it's
Then it becomes fully technical once you leave the base camp, because then there are 4 or 5 camps going up. We met, interestingly, we stay in a little hotel in Namche Bazaar. Namche Bazaar is a beautiful little town in Nepal, which is the gateway to all these treks, including Everest. And we stay at a little hotel. There's a Kancha Sherpa. He's 92 years old. He owns the hotel and his son runs it. Now, he is the last survivor of the team that went with Edmund Hillary, and Tenzing Norgay. He's the last survivor. And incredible. So we met him that day at the hotel. We were all having dinner and we went and took his autograph. Someone's written a book about him, so we all bought the book. And then he finished dinner, and he was 9:30. He was leaving to go to his room. So there was a European group there, and there was an Australian group, and we were about 22 of us sitting here. And as he came to, everyone was good night, good night. As he came to our table, now this is our Indian culture. We were very proud after that. 22 people without a hesitation, we all stood up. He's a senior man and he's leaving to show him respect. All of us did namaste to him. Some of who were near the edges went and touched his feet. So, and the others were looking, the foreigners were looking at us like, because they'd never seen someone do this before. Without a hesitation, 22 people just stood up like that when he was ready to leave. So, Kancha Sherpa, very famous man of Nepal.
And lastly, you were mentioning about this, training trip which you are planning
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
It's a tiny little hill.
So don't you have anything like that within the Western Ghats where you get a feel of?
But you'll have to go so far. Day before yesterday, we did a climb up and down in St. Thomas Mount. That's an even lower than Tirusulam. But it has steps on one side and a road on the other side. So we climb up and down for an hour and a half. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow at Tirusulam.
No, what I mean is there are no such well-defined trails.
No, no, you have to go into like in Kodaikanal, Nilgiris, you have to go a little further out. The west, in those areas there are small trails, not very high
So
trails.
none of these companies take you to those.
We'd rather go to the Himalayas, if you're making the effort to go somewhere, we'd rather go to the Himalayas. So I think the first trek we ever did was Dolphin's Nose in Kodaikanal. That was the only trek I'd ever done before going off with the TM and Badri.
Ma'am, did you see the snow leopards?
Unfortunately, I have never seen because I don't go in winter. It's too cold. But one of our trekking girls is there just now. She's been sending pictures. Sheila Verghese. She goes every year. She's 2 days they sighted the snow leopards. So the people do go every year. Then there's another beautiful trek. I will not go because I don't like that kind of cold. It's called the Chadar trek, again in Ladakh, and you're trekking in winter. It's minus 25, minus 30, and you're trekking on frozen rivers. And Chadar is like a blanket of snow. It's got very famous Chadar trek. Every year people go. I will not go. I don't like that kind of cold. So it's too much for me to take.
Yeah, I heard Badri is making TM Krishna sing Carnatic songs on.
Badri sang on top of Stoke Kangri when he summited. He sang Jagado Dharana when he summited. Just he sings everywhere. He'll just sit on a rock and sing. Quite incredible. And he loves being out of in the mountains. And I think because of his singing ability, he's got very good lung power. And he's young also. He must be hardly 51 or 52. He's not that old. Enough time for him to climb some summits. Anyway, thank you. We have, we do,
try for that.
we do have
Taking
one.
some painters.
We don't
draw
take, but one of our trekking girls, Dr. Vidya, Sri Vidya, she is an artist. So she'll bring her paints and canvas, and she doesn't do the highest part. She'll come up to a point, then she'll sit and paint. So she does some lovely paintings actually. And she had an exhibition recently of all her mountain paintings.
So it's time to thank Vidyaji for that wonderful exposition. In fact, we first brought to the CIC a couple from Trichy.
Yes.
And they have been
Avid
trekking
trekkers and
mountaineering
photographers.
from 1970.
Yeah.
And they are in their
Photographers.
70s now. I think they must be touching 80 now.
No.
You know?
70s.
70s. And they still have that passion to go out there.
Yes.
And incredible.
Yes.
We also had a 16-year-old, Kamya, whom Vidya
I know,
mentioned several times.
Yeah.
And she is now on her way to the
Antarctic.
sixth continent.
She's done all 7
All
peaks,
7
including Everest. And I saw her when she was 10 years old in the base camp of Stoke. We had reached the base camp and we were wandering around in the tea tent. And my friend and I saw the small girl, 9-year-old child, sitting by herself playing video games. So, like 2 mother hens, we went there and straight away asked her, "Why are you alone? Where are your parents?" So she said, "Oh, we just summited Stoke summit and they were walking too slow, so I ran down." Unbelievable. And
In fact, those videos are on our site. And
yes.
if any of you are
she's
interested,
a rock star. She's going to do a lot more.
Yeah.
Kamya, she's got a great trekking career ahead of her. I don't know whether you're allowed to climb that. No idea. Because some of them
I think, has been banned.
has been banned. Yeah.
Because of danger?
Also, there's
there
a
are
holy. Some of them are holy mountains, so you're not allowed to climb some mountains.
But this couple had climbed when it was allowed.
Yes.
Before that controversy about a radioactive something on top
Yeah.
of Nanda Devi. Yeah, so beautiful pictures they had also presented.
Yes.
So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chand.
And this time we've actually brought you on the stage.
Thank you.
We hope to have more sessions when you write your book with all your journals.
Lots
I
of
think you should convert it
into
book.
one book with all.
Into one book with
People
all-
get bored if they read that. Every day here, trek from here to there, page after page.
I think ChatGPT will
Will
make it,
make
a
it better,
lot more
but it
masala.
won't be my
Your
story then.
material,
It won't-
ChatGPT is right.
No, I don't like ChatGPT. I think it has to be your voice.
Yeah, thank you.
Sites you see, like the big eagle and all.
Yes.
People have no idea.
No, that's why I'm saying I can remember it 12 years later, such a clear visual of that eagle up in the sky and the shadow going on the mountain like that, undulating with the mountain. It's an unbelievable sight. I've never forgotten it. And frankly, if you don't write it, you're not going to remember it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. So once again, I think
Thank you all for coming. Seriously, I
Thank you.
really
Right.
touched that all of you took the time out to be here. Thank you.
so. Our next event is on Monday, and we have another very interesting book to discuss. And these are two stalwarts. One has been the director of the CBI, and the other one of the largest states of India, UP. He was the DGP of Uttar Pradesh. I think you'll all find it very interesting. It is on Monday, right here. Hope to see all of you on that event too. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a book discussion on between these two very senior IPS officers. Thank you for coming.